In today's video, I want to talk about something that's a little bit more personal. And this goes towards a little bit more towards kind of the main theme of a lot of the work that I do is family and religious trauma. And one of the first things that I was taught growing up in my household was a very simple childhood prayer. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, pray the Lord my soul to take. And then it was God bless mommy and daddy and my brothers and sisters and blah, 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 blah. But the prayer was obviously written by an adult, not a child. And I don't think that people realize, especially for children who are sensitive and who are different, that a prayer like that has many things that, at least for me personally, caused me stress and ultimately trauma on many different levels. First of all, praying that you live through the night, kind of a scary thing for a child. And praying to a God who at any moment, for no reason, could snuff out your candle or your torch, if you were talking about Survivor. It leaves a certain concept in your mind around not only the fragility of life, but how you have to constantly try to appease a God in some way just for your basic survival. The other thing that it did for me is it made me think every night before I go to bed, what if my mommy dies? What if my dad dies? What then? And a prayer that is designed from an adult perspective to possibly be comforting became a real point of inducing fear in me personally that happened night after night after night after night after night after night after night. And I remember sometimes jumping out of bed and in the morning, after sometimes a very restless sleep, worried that the people who are important to me, God just might decide for some reason, oh, they're done. And yes, there's that, if I die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take concept, but it was meaningless for a child's understanding. And so I lived in this perpetual fear, and it shifted over time very quickly, actually. It was very quickly for me, where I was worried about every night about dying, but it became much more worrisome for me, like I said, that one of my parents would die. And then what? Then what happens to me? Then what happens to them? Because I wasn't sure. And it triggered every survival mechanism I had, where I had to be good regardless of anything else, to try to appease a God that could take away my mom and dad or siblings or whoever on what seemed like a whim, and having no control over that situation and feeling out of control and feeling afraid are ways that trauma gets into the very core of our being. So it's just something I wanted to share because it's on my mind a lot. And protecting the innocence of children and not expecting them to have your adult rationalization and understanding around situations is just so important. And so many other situations that other people have experienced that are different than mine. I just wanted to share with you mine. Things happen that aren't intentionally designed to hurt, but then that can cause micro traumas, and especially when they're things that are reinforced on a daily basis. And that's where a lot of our adult hurt and our adult pain and our adult worry and our adult anxiety comes from, is those little things that maybe seem trivial. For me, it was anything but that left me living in a state of perpetual fear. And that is basically what trauma is when your emotional state is constantly heightened and it never has a chance to come back down. And so just out of curiosity, if you find that, or if you know you're suffering anxiety or depression, or you live in that heightened sense of fear, to start thinking about where some of that actually originated. And that is really the purpose of my Facebook group. And I'm actually going to put a link in the comment to this video again. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it already, but it's around family and religious trauma. And it is, I want to assume that it's an innocent way, even though I think in a lot of ways it's a way to start indoctrinating and controlling a child with that type of prayer. But I don't think it's always done with malice or with that kind of intent. But it does do that. And I do not want to play that off. But just start thinking about in your own life little messages that you've picked up that have started to shape your personality. And your personality is not who you are. Your personality is very much about how you've been trained to be and to act and to interact with the world. So if you have questions around stress, anxiety, fear, depression, addiction, because oftentimes trauma leads to that, I'd happily sit down and explore with you, either on a call or over a cup of coffee or anything, the ways that trauma has impacted on your life and things that you can do now to actually finally heal that trauma and start living your most authentic self. So again, just a little bit about my childhood, and it might seem like a very trivial thing to some people, but for me it was a nightly ritual of fear where I was taught to constantly live being scared of losing my family to what seemed to me a God that I had no way to really legitimately as a child find any kind of connection or communication with. And impacted on a lot of areas of my life. So I'm not going to keep going on about it anymore. It's just a really simple thing. It's been on my mind a lot. It's been one of the videos that I wanted to make for a while. But just start being curious about where some of your hurts and behaviors and ways of thinking, belief systems, all these things that we call our personality actually came from, and decide if you're ready to step back into a position of power and heal those things. So again, thank you for spending time with me, everybody. I truly appreciate those of you who watch and comment on my videos. And my sincere desire is to make sure that there is a value in them that can help begin the healing process, or at least have you start considering that there is another way to be in the world that is not based just on our experiences and trauma. So I love you all. Have a good day. Bye-bye.